The common system amongst these pathways is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. We were just laughing backstage about this because I was saying people might be tired of hearing me talk about your sinuses and your pituitary gland, but we're going to talk about it again because it is such a central point of focus in the conversation of mycotoxin related illness that we have to discuss it, because your sinuses are really the gateway to mold overtaking and hijacking the health of your brain, the health of your hormones, the health of really your whole body, because it enters that way. And then what happens is you breathe in these mold spores. And maybe you're like, yeah, I was exposed to mold at one time or another. I'm not living it anymore. Or I left a job where I knew it was moldy, or I sold a car, I knew it was moldy. If you haven't had targeted sinus care and you've not made sure that the colonies are out of your sinuses or any fungal overgrowth in there, you could still be dealing with symptoms from that mold exposure due to mycotoxins, which are the microscopic mold metabolites. Okay. And so these sit in your frontal sinuses. And so they actually will release these vapors. The mycotoxins will release toxic vapors. And there's only a very thin barrier between your sinuses and your pituitary gland being that master hormone conductor in your body. Eventually, over time, the mycotoxins will actually erode that thin barrier. And there are severe cases of this. I know that Microbalance targets a lot of these cases where there's erosion of that barrier or there's calcification of the pituitary gland. Those are more severe cases, but understanding that this is a primary pathway to neural inflammation and the brain being on fire in cases of mold-related illness. So that neuroinflammation ultimately can impact the blood-brain barrier. That's your protective layer around the brain, much like the lining of your gut is that protective lining around your gut. And the pituitary is sitting here acting as this master hormone conductor. And so you've got an anterior pituitary and a posterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary controls stress hormones like cortisol and endorphins, right? Your catecholamines, those release of those stress hormones. The posterior pituitary releases hormones that support your nervous system regulation and connection, and releases things like oxytocin and vasopressin, and creates the conditions for dopamine to be released and uptaken.